What's up, Wrap Shop Talk? My name is Brent Knott, and today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. And that has been a buzzword for a very long time. I paid absolutely zero attention to it. But in the most recent months, I started really kind of paying attention to what was occurring into the marketplace, very specifically AI. Today's video, I wanted to go over some very practical use cases of how we can leverage AI in our vehicle wrap shops and kind of catch you up to speed in case you were like me a couple months ago and not really understanding it and kind of a naysayer, if you will. So many people were working on voice AI for the last like year and a half, and I've just not been a fan. I feel like human beings should talk to customers, but I've found a use case in which I am all for voice AI. So at the end of the video, I'll be providing you guys with a couple of prompts that I like to use and tools and resources for free. So stick around for that. Everybody's heard of ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is an LLM, which is a large language model. And ChatGPT by itself is kind of like a bag of tricks. When the very first iterations started coming out, it was just predicting text. So like if you said, "My big fat Greek," it would say wedding, right? So it's predicting things that you want to see. The problem with LLMs is they're not really great at anything, right? They're cool to kind of talk to, but they don't actually help you achieve any task. You can maybe argue that cool, they can help you with a contract here or there, help you identify something you don't understand, etc. But this is back, older versions of ChatGPT. And then came along a company called Perplexity. Perplexity basically created a tool where they were able to connect the LLM to the internet. And they were the first ones to achieve this task. Once that happened, now it actually became resourceful because you could say, "Please search the internet for XY research point," right? And now it's a little more useful. I'm going to come to a chart here and kind of show you what I'm referring to. So just the LLM by itself is absolutely useless. Like what started to happen about a year ago is LLMs plus tools. And so this would be like ChatGPT plus the internet, ChatGPT plus Slack, ChatGPT plus Discord, like whatever you want to call it. And you could say, every time somebody messages me in Slack, please send me a text message through, let's just say, Zapier, and you could then set it all up. The problem with this was, and we can speak pretty heavily to this, at Torque CRM, we legitimately had where Make.com, we processed some million automations last year, and every time there's an update on, let's say, Monday.com or Trello, etc., it would break our tool and we have to go back and fix it. And it was very cumbersome. But you could tie that in with ChatGPT. Now, the iteration and what's got me excited now is we have what's called an MCP server. And what's happening essentially is, let's just use QuickBooks, for example. QuickBooks has all these people that are using Zapier calling data from QuickBooks, like, shooting data off constantly, and they're wanting to extract that data through API. But there was no standards. Now, people like QuickBooks says, okay, here is our MCP server. So it is actually creating a standard within QuickBooks for automation. Now, if you can tie a ChatGPT to something that's standardized, it kind of gives it a lot more context of the task that you're trying to achieve. Many people actually do not know about this. There's a lot of people that do, but I would say in our industry, there's very few. And essentially what's occurring is you have ChatGPT, whichever AI you want to use. I use Claude quite a bit. Hooks into an MCP server. So that could be Trello. Atlassian is the MCP server for Trello. And then you can link that into your service, and you could start to search to where inside of ChatGPT, you could say, "Hey, can you please find Brent Knott's job in Trello and give me a status update?" it literally can read all the data inside of your Trello per se, or your Monday.com or your Torque CRM, whatever tool that you're using, it actually can read the data within it, gather everything together, and come back. Another use case would be QuickBooks. You're already starting to see it inside of QuickBooks, but there's going to be programs outside of QuickBooks to where you could say, hey, please tell me my financial health within my business and for the last 7 days. And it'll tell you all the reports that you would like to see, but you didn't have to actually go anywhere. This is still rather clunky and not very useful because it's still in its infancy. This is literally just kind of coming to be right now. But as this starts to get cleaned up and organized, like, I think AI is going to take off very quickly. And the people that aren't prompting and learning how to talk to, say, AIs are going to greatly fall behind, because you're going to be able to do just about everything that you need to do from one screen, especially once they include, say, Siri or whatever device that you're using, and you can talk to your device and achieve tasks. So I can show you kind of an example here with Claude. If I open up a new chat, we can see all the tools that I have already. And so we can say, can you search my Notion for WSA avatar and generate a post for Facebook for Scaling Sam. And so here it's basically going into another application. It's looking at the data for context of exactly what I'm asking it to do. And, here you can see there's an MCP error. And this is what I mean by it's very clunky. It's very early infant stages. But this is going to be pretty wild. And so here we can basically see a Facebook post for Scaling Sam for the Wrap Shop Academy. And I would always come in and redevelop this into my voice at all times, but it gives you a really good outline for it. And as you can see, we don't have our big dashes from ChatGPT that so many people do. Now, the number one use for AI that as this MCP server starts to grow is going to be for internal leverage. There's already tools to where on the enterprise level, let's just say somebody in a corporate team says, hey, to manager, what should we do about this situation? And there's already a tool that has been developed where it can scan all of the archives of conversations that's happened within Slack, to where there's been other managers that's been coached or employees that's been coached up on the situation. And also it scrubs all of the SOPs for the company, as well as the core values and standards within the company. And it would actually respond, hey, we found where this has happened in the past. Here was the response. It would cite the response just as if you were Googling it. But it's actually Googling inside of your business. Like, AI is not something to take for granted at all, because the only people that can't leverage AI right now are the people that are stuck just installing and they have absolutely zero infrastructure in their business. But if you could just put a tiny bit of infrastructure in your business, you can gain leverage. And that's really all AI is gaining internal leverage. We don't even necessarily want to replace people, but can we expand? If your team is 5 people large, can we expand the output of those 5 people dramatically? So I put up a post today, and I think this is the general sentiment. I did this on purpose just to kind of see what people have said. I can't wait until it can disassemble a car and wrap a bumper for me. Then my efficiency would actually go up, not just save a little time writing a liability waiver. Now, I understand what you mean. you are currently in the identity of only an installer in your business. You don't understand, you haven't even seen the pains yet of what you're going to need administratively to grow and scale your business. So you're only thinking about the right now of what you're doing in your business. But imagine, let's just say, fine, you want to be the installer and you want to become the next Jim Miller. I respect it. I love it. But if you put a camera on you with a microphone and you just talked out loud as to all the reasons why you were doing what you were doing while you were doing it, get it transcribed, put it into a folder, and then basically put all that data and transcriptions into a Google Drive folder as a markdown so that the AI can read the code a lot faster. And then when you finally hire an assistant, you can let them quote projects because you have 6 months of you talking to a recording device that has extracted your brain as to why maybe a front bumper on a Toyota Supra is incredibly difficult and why we should charge more and why we should charge more for a dually and what it takes to do it and how we should increase our labor rates for a concrete wall wrap. You're literally bridging the gap between your technical wisdom and the administrative side of the business. Like, if you just want to be the installer, AI is massively important still. Because if you can just extract all the information here, this is our problem in our industry is we have so much information. Our industry is incredibly difficult to learn. There are a lot of nuances, but it's not nearly as hard as we make it. We just choose to make it harder so it makes us feel special. But if we could extract out of our mind and then actually hire an admin, which is one of the most important positions you can hire as an installer for your business to go get more sales and quote jobs for you while you're doing your passion of installing, if that's what you want to do, then you should also leverage AI. And I digress. I had another person that says basically it's a search engine that maybe does analysis for the user. That's exactly what I was going over. I agree. It is no longer. Now that it has access to the internet, it can just do an insane amount of things. To the designers that are concerned that is going to be taking their job, no. You have knowledge and wisdom of how to describe a design unlike anybody else, and you can leverage the AI. The design side of AI is definitely lagging behind, but it is catching up. And eventually you will be able to, hey, I need a specific artifact. Cool. You can generate that artifact to then plug into your design. Maybe you don't necessarily draft the whole design, but maybe you sketch up the design and then upload that into the AI and have it create the vector side of it for you. There's a lot of ways to use it to gain leverage on your position. And the people who can understand how to construct a conversation with these AIs are the people who are going to win. And I think that's the second reason why so much resistance is occurring with AI is communication is a very hard skill to develop. It is literally it is what started these videos for me is I wanted to become a better communicator. And the better we can communicate, the better we can talk to something that doesn't have a soul and get what we want out of it. And so now I want to hop into a couple of actual real use cases rather than just talking about it. I want to show you how I'm using AI in everyday work. I have done nothing but talk to AI for the last probably 2 months, and I've been able to create a lot of leeway and progress in doing so. And so the very first thing that I have done is created a AI. Now, I don't necessarily use ChatGPT the most. I use it a lot for my general conversations because it's the cheapest tool to use for just general use. I use about 3 or 4 different ones. I like Perplexity, I like Claude, and I like ChatGPT. Grok apparently is pretty good. I haven't played with that one just yet. And then I recently, for some research between Perplexity, I'll also use GenSpark. But for the sake of this video, I've basically put everything into ChatGPT so that everybody can gain access to this immediately. So the very first way that I've started using AI is as I was doing these videos, Ruggs would reach out and he's like, hey, I want an article, or hey, I used to do all these Facebook posts and stuff, but I hated people that would just go in like, hey, I got this inspirational quote and I'm going to put it into ChatGPT and cool, I'm going to generate this massive long form text and nobody's going to freaking read it because it has nothing to do with me. It's just something that I put out there to make myself feel like I'm something I'm not. That's nonsense. Please don't do that. Instead, what I've done is I've taken every video that I've done, as well as every meeting that I have taken in the last 3 months or so, and all the videos that are currently on YouTube. I transcribed every single one of them. And then I put it into basically what's called a markdown file. And that's just code, basically. It's easier for the AIs to read. And essentially, I created a My Voice GPT. And I have my instructions. So in ChatGPT, you have a couple different tools. You have just your general chat, and then you have like projects. And I highly recommend growing projects as how you're going to use your ChatGPT moving forward, unless it's just general, like I have something I want to ask a question for. But under My Voice, basically, I took all my transcriptions first, I loaded them into Claude, and I said, hey, please scrub all of my transcripts. I would like you to create a prompt for ChatGPT that is in my tone, my tonality, and in my methods of speaking. And so basically it showed my core personality traits, communication style, language patterns, like I don't like emojis too much. I try to use questions, etc. It even says some of my key phrases and expressions, but these are ways that I talk. And I don't know how to necessarily prompt entirely. I don't even know my own habits. So basically, I just let it read my transcripts of me speaking, and it came up with this. And so the reason why we want to do that with so much data is ChatGPT by itself will hallucinate. It'll get a little outlandish. And so if you can provide it a lot more context, then it'll bring in the gutter. It's almost like a bowling alley and you're putting up the gutter rails and you're like, no, stay in this lane. So as you can see, this instruction prompt is pretty, tight. So, earlier we were talking about this Facebook Academy or a Facebook post for Scaling Sam. And I'll say, please rewrite this in My Voice to get this a little more dialed in. And this is kind of how I curate certain things. And I'll come in and edit it massively. But it gets me started, and it's heavily based on My Voice. And so under like my project files with My Voice, I have a file here, and I change these files out based on what I'm doing. But currently it's got a Torque CRM avatar. And what we did is I curated a bunch of data, and I came in and I had Claude scrub the internet and do research for me of what are wrap shop owners complaining about in their industry or in their LinkedIn post or their Reddit post, etc., about running a wrap shop. And so it took about an hour, but it scrubbed the internet, and basically, it told me, where are people hanging out? Like literally it said wrap shop, like I didn't put this in. They hang out in Wrap Shop Talk, Vehicle Wraps and Vinyl Printing, and the Wrap Society. They hang out in industry forums like Signs 101. They go to YouTube. What is the language that they use? I hit a plateau I can't scale past. I'm wearing too many hats. I'm drowning in paperwork. I'm losing leads to chaos, etc. Like, it literally tells me who my customer is. I recently did this avatar for Design It, my wrap shop, and I basically said, The prompt was, I need you to help me create an ideal client profile for Design It Wraps. We offer commercial fleet wraps and commercial upfitting for service-based industries. We specialize in being an all-in-one resource for leasing companies and larger fleets to get their fleet back on the road as fast as possible. That's the angle that we play. With this context, can you please provide me a breakdown of my ideal client avatar? I would like you to do market research as to the lanes, opportunities for me to attract new business. I want to know where they hang out in the real world and on the internet. I want to understand their pain points, on what language they are using when they are posting about their frustrations of our industry, and what are some opportunities that I might not be considering for this. And then from there, it's like, great, awesome. This is why I love Claude. Please answer some more questions first. Let me get some context. And so it said, what area do I want to focus on? What size vehicle fleets? And am I sure that I want to be broad, or do I want to tighten down my scope of search and just like say HVAC and plumbing? So I answered the question. This thing searched the internet for an hour and 4 minutes and scrubbed a ton of data. And it created an entire market research report for me. It showed me how to find people on LinkedIn, what their titles are, as far as if I was to try to reverse engineer who is the purchasing / decision maker for these companies. If I was to like go to LinkedIn and try to hunt people down, it shows me like some of their pain points of like, where's it at? Let's see. So it showed me all of the places that they like to hang out, such as trade shows. If I want to start nailing down some massive fleets, I can go to LinkedIn into these groups right here. Pain points, cost per. So this is something that we do is the typical cost per day for an HVAC van is, I believe, like $1,500 a day, $1,500 a day of revenue for every day that the vehicle is down. So we leverage that instead of saying like, hey, we're the cheapest or we're the best. We're like, no, we turn this around faster for you so that we can get your vehicle back on the road. And literally, it's a massive pain point for them, apparently. They can't afford to get rid of their old vehicles because the new costs increase. Okay, great. If you're playing the we're the best shop and quality matters play, which we all should be, then it's like the reason why you should choose us is because vehicles are getting more expensive. Therefore, you should go with the right wrap shop to ensure that the wrap lasts as long as you keep the vehicle in the fleet, because if not, it's going to be an additional expense. And then if you have to get it fixed, then your vehicle is going to be down for every day that they have to remove it and replace it. So let's just say it's 5 days. That's $5,000 plus the wrap. So you lost 10 grand from the decision you made several years ago. This is how you solve customers' problems that they don't know that they even have, but they already know it here. So this is one way to use ChatGPT, is my voice, and then also creating avatars. Another way that I like to use, say, ChatGPT and or AI is as like a sales tool or like calming myself down. I'm sure all of us, and we see it all the time in the groups where somebody like had a customer that was bad, and then all of a sudden like they get this knee-jerk response from the customer and they're like, I want to respond like screw off person, or I want to be sarcastic or whatever. Or maybe it's just a general price objection. Like you've been working with this customer back and forth. You think you got them all the way to the finish line, and then they hit you with an objection like, hey, this is great, but can you do this? And like, absolutely not. Like that doesn't go along with your standards, etc. So one thing that ChatGPT is good at is like, you can say, hey, could you provide me with frameworks for overcoming objections, right? And so you can actually create like what are common objection frameworks as to how you can create stuff. And it'll kind of explain that to you. And then you can load in your objection and say, please use XY framework. So my favorite framework, like I don't really care to watch all this go down, but is the AMA. So AMA is agree, minimize, and advance. So it's like, I hear you, I see you, but let's move forward. And I'll put this in a document and let you guys have this. But basically, it also uses my writing style. So again, I don't ever let this thing loose. I showed it like, please use my writing style for the response. All right, now this might seem silly to you because you're like, well, I'm the owner of business. I can say what I want. That's great. You're the owner of your job and you can say whatever you want. But when you start to have employees that work for you, they're most likely just going to come to you, interrupt your day, removing that bumper we talked about earlier that the guy was so proud that he was doing, and say, hey, how do I respond to this customer? They're being a dick. Instead, you could have this GPT where it's like, hey, you scratched my car, and my mirrors are broken. Like, I don't know, I'm just throwing in some random shit. I expect you to pay for all this, or give me a refund on my wrap for the damages. Okay, just imagine this being a discount, and they're literally coming up with this off the top of my head. But you can say below, help me reply to this disgruntled customer. We have a check-in process and we have photos showing the vehicle arrived as so, and we are not liable for these damages. We also sent them the email immediately with our drop-off inspection automation through Torque CRM. Okay, so sweet. Now your employee can literally almost always respond, and you know that it's going to be good because you can put in your values, you can put in everything. Like, again, I put my tonality. So it's like, hey, thanks for reaching out. Like, obviously we'll fix all these little small things. Completely understand why you're upset. If you thought the damage was caused during a service, I'd be frustrated too. So you acknowledged the situation, right? That said, this is actually a common misunderstanding, and it's exactly why we've built a detailed check-in inspection process. When your vehicle was dropped off, we conducted a full walkthrough and documented all pre-existing conditions, timestamp photos, and these were emailed to you automatically through our Torque CRM system. So everything is on record. We've reviewed these photos, and they clearly show the side mirror scratch issues. We're already present. Sorry, gosh, I can't read today. And they clearly show the side mirror scratch issues were already present when the vehicle arrived. Because of that, I can't take the responsibility for damages that occurred prior to the drop-off. I digress. This is I just wish I did this sooner, or I wish this was available to me whenever I was in the back working on that bumper, thinking that I was God's gift to the earth. It would get so frustrating. I remember being in the back, like trying to get these jobs and obligations done, and I would get interrupted time and time and time again, and then I have to go up to the front and get out of my groove and then go answer this question. And now I'm mad that I even had to answer that question, and I'm mad that I had to deal with that emotion. Hire people to deal with that emotion. Let them deal with that. We can remove a lot of emotional baggage by having tools and resources in our businesses for our admins and salespeople or whoever in the team to leverage. And this AMA response is fantastic for just basically diffusing situations. You include whatever resources you do have, and obviously don't manipulate it. Like, if you didn't really have the resources, then you probably, just need to fix it. But at least if you do have these things, then great. Another use case is, a lot of us don't have massive leadership skills naturally. We have to learn them, and it's very painful to learn. And sometimes, we need coaches, we need mentors, and that's been one of the most helpful things for me. I've coached under John Duver, I've done Thomas Keenan, I've done many coaches. I've spent well over 6 figures on consulting for my brain. But even then, it never gets easy having to coach and mentor sometimes employees or hold somebody accountable to a standard within the business, etc. And so I actually have a ChatGPT that is for like being my coach. And so I have a pretty good example here. So let me actually go to, let's see. Yeah, okay, it has me in there. So the instruction for this is you're going to be my leadership mentor. Your guidance should reflect the principles of people that I value, books that I've read that I kind of align with. So Patrick Lencioni is like a CEO coach. He helps CEOs become more effective in their businesses. Ryan Holiday, naturally stoic guy in ego management. So he wrote like Ego is the Enemy, Discipline is Destiny, etc. John C. Maxwell is pretty obvious for leadership, and Simon Sinek. And I said basically provide me with actionable advice, reflection, prompts, and coaching strategies for the following. Things that it covers. It kind of just has a good guidance system for here. Now, I can say Brent came in late again. He's my top performer. He absolutely crushes it. Naturally I got to talk about myself a little bit, but he's always late, and I feel like the team is noticing and other people are starting to do the same. I'm concerned because I don't want to lose my rock star. So again, I'm asking it as if I was asking a mentor or a coach. Okay. Help me with, all right. So I'm going to bring him in and talk to him. I've uploaded his disc profile. Help me navigate my conversation. Include how not to approach him based on his personality profile. So, as we all know, everybody is a little bit different. We can't coach and mentor people purely based on maybe how you would treat yourself. I had to learn that the hard way. I used to bonus people only with money when I realized that some people just wanted to be seen, heard, and appreciated. Some people like to go on trips, whatever. It's the same for when you're having to coach and mentor and hold people accountable. You have to speak to each individual person. This is the hardest part about leadership, is you have to speak to each individual differently. So it shows my disc profile overview. And if you don't know what a disc profile is, just literally buy WiseHire for 1 month. It's $200. Make your whole team apply for the disc profile assessments because they're free for some reason on WiseHire. And then you can cancel your subscription. But it shows that I'm like highly driven by results. Like, this is literally me. I can't schedule projects because I'm like, yes, put it on the schedule. I will get it done somehow. I seek leadership, control, influence, and thrives on accountability. So it's literally telling me that I thrive on accountability. Why am I being lax? Right? So, opening, obviously you don't have to follow this to a T, but like I say, like, I want to say that your contribution here is incredible. One of my love languages is that I like to be seen and heard and like appreciated. I don't require many attaboys, but like one goes a long way with me. So it's obvious how much you care. Now, I've noticed a pattern of you arriving late is starting to impact the broader team dynamic. Others have observed and started following suit. So, it basically is like, how can we address this together? Whatever. Now, it says like what not to do. Aggressive confrontation is going to shut me down. Like, yeah, I'm going to ignore you. Like, I just flat out don't deal with it. Don't be vague or emotionally charged. Like, be direct with me. Like, I've always been much better when people are like, not be, well, kind of this, kind of that. And like, no, freaking tell me. Like, just tell me. Rip the Band-Aid off and tell me exactly how you feel. That's what I want to know. And I definitely don't like to be manipulated. So, this is a great way for you to do stuff. Another thing I kind of pre-did before this was like, hey, this is my disc profile. Please tell me areas that I may fall short so that I can be aware of it. And it's helping me understand myself. Like I 1000% struggle having an emotional connection with team members. I love my team, but I am horrible at like, let's just say we hit a big goal. Let's just call it, we'll just simply say like, let's say we hit $1 million. I'm like, yeah, cool. All right, next thing. Like, I don't know. It is weird. Like, I just don't deal well with it. I just kind of move on and I don't really celebrate sometimes, and I'm working on that. I'm highly resistant to change, like 1000%. It took me 10 years to not be an installer in my business. So I'm a people pleaser. So that's why I was so buried in my business, was because I wanted to please my customer above everything, including myself. I didn't even please myself first before I pleased the customer. Like I wanted to take care of the customer to such a high degree that I literally degraded my own life. So this coaching prompt is great. Yeah. And one of the last tools I want to talk about is like voice AI. Voice AI is massively important. I don't like it for the reasons that some people like. Some people like to do like the cold calling outbound to customers. I'm not a fan. We get enough spam calls as it is. However, in Torque CRM, for example, we're implementing voice AI right now. And the use case that we're going to go after is basically, it's 2025. Why are we leaving voicemails? If I'm going to miss a phone call, I would rather my AI receptionist grab the call and say, hey, my name is Avery. I'm here to help you. Can you tell me more about your project? Great. Loads that information into the CRM. Can I get your name, your phone number, your email? Great. Plugs those details into the CRM. Are you available for a callback with our wrap specialist tomorrow at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m.? Okay, cool. 9 a.m. works for you? No, actually 10:30. Can you do 10:30? Let me check the calendar. Yeah, actually 10:30 works. Like, it's going to book and appoint calls for you, the sales rep. Now, if you want to call them ahead of time, now guess what? You're crushing it for the customer, but you're setting a meeting up on a dedicated time that you might be available, because maybe you're still in the back and disassembling that bumper and doing that install. So using the AI as like an overflow catch instead of voicemail, and go ahead and while that customer is engaged trying to reach out to you, they're spending time literally reaching out to you to possibly buy. And I think it's our duty to go ahead and get them somewhat appeased where we can at least gather the details of the project to where when you are available, now you can actually, you already have all the context that you need to call that customer and serve them to the highest level. And you can be prepared for the call. Now, another way that we're going to leverage voice AI is, let's say, following up on estimates on like day 7 after an estimate has been sent out. We can, we text an email, and then like day 6 or 7, we can call via voice AI, and it already has parameters for the project. And it can be like, hey, we're just following up on the estimate we sent you a couple of days ago. Were there any questions, concerns, or problems with that estimate, or any changes you would like to make? And the goal is for it to get some form of resolution to where it will actually either like, do you need to book another call with our app specialist? Cool, let's get you on the calendar. Do you need to speak to our designer? Cool, let's get you on the calendar. Whatever it may be, we can go ahead and take action on it. But the goal is to give you more leverage, because your admins could be, already on the phone with somebody. And there's a lot of bandwidth there too, trying to keep up and keep all those pins juggled in the air. The admin position is incredibly difficult because it's very fast paced in most shops. But the last way that we're going to be using voice AI is for proofing. How many times in our business are we bottlenecked up in the design department? So like we send off a proof, and we have a proofing automation where day 2, it follows up on the proof. Day 4 follows up on the proof. And then on like day 6, we want the voice AI to call the customer and say, hey, we noticed that you haven't approved your proof yet. Were there any questions, concerns, issues, etc.? We're just trying to, we've already sold the customer on the proofing part. Like, why can't the AI just gather the details and send it back to the designer? And naturally we have the prompt to where if they want to book that meeting, then they can. Um, and then the last thing that the voice AI can do is essentially, if a customer calls in and they have their work order number, then they can actually see where the status of their project is. And that's just massively impactful. And that goes back to the MCP server. That's what allows us to do it, because it's giving us access to the tool. And then we can actually, the AI can like scrub inside the tool and look up that work order number, and bang, guess what? It's in, I see that your job is currently in upcoming in design, so you should expect a proof in the next few hours. So that's the way that I feel that voice AI should be leveraged, is to help you get like a third arm on your admin, to where it helps them do a lot of that lifting. And these are duties that are very low level. I'd rather my admin selling another job and then possibly following up on a proof. We've already sold the project. I'm happy to follow up on a proof and happy to deliver that customer service. But I think, and typically those are very quick conversations, unless a deeper conversation needs to be made. And then we can do it on a scheduled regiment. So, and then the very, very last way, I'm barely going to tip the top of the iceberg on this, but, marketing. I mean, AI is so impactful on marketing with idea generation, seeking what are pain points, like we already talked about for our ideal avatar. We could say, hey, let's create some content around all the pain points for our customers. And we want to do it in the point story lesson format. So like I looked up formats for how to do short reels, and it's point story lesson. And so you make your point, you deliver a story about the point, and then you deliver the principle or the lesson that's extracted from the point. And that helps you with better yield of results for, trying to, get to the point. And, so that's one way to use it for marketing. There is a lot of really good marketing tools out there, but there's one called Firecrawl. And you could literally go and crawl your competitor's site. And this is totally fine. Like, I mean, you could already see it with some pretty, like SEMrush and Search Atlas and these really expensive SEO tools. But Firecrawl actually lets you see the entire sitemap of a company's website and see every blog post that they've done, so that you can see their keyword research and all that stuff. And then you can actually start to repurpose some of that for yourself. You can also like audit it against your site of, does your website actually have good keywords, and does it actually speak to the pain points that your customers even have? So, I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to be diving deeper into very specifics of how we can use AI in our industry, but I just wanted to put it on your guys' radar that this is not to be, written off. I think that it's only going to get more and more dangerous. And I think the people that are learning how to leverage it the best are going to be light years ahead of everybody else, especially on things like I think the number one tool that could be built would be a tool that extracts our wisdom as technicians in the blue collar world across the board. All blue collar industries deal with the same problem that we deal with, where like welders, look at I'm stacking my dimes and, et cetera. We're artists and we think nobody else can do it the way we do, but we also can't hire an admin to sell a job because they don't understand the technicalities behind what is involved. But if we could extract what's in our mind and put it into a robot to then respond to our administrative teams and our sales teams to get customers estimates faster, like that would just be a game changer. If you liked what you've seen, please like and subscribe. We are, going to be really pushing this forward over the next couple months, and we got a lot of great things on the horizon. And I'm starting to get into a groove on making sure to post these weekly. I was a little late on this one by a week, but you know, we're here for the long haul. We want to build standards for this industry, and I want to see nothing but success for other people, because this business or this industry has given me everything that I have, and I just want to be who I needed whenever I was on the come up. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.